What's going on, guys? Bett Records back with another fantasy football video here, specifically in regards to the Deshaun Watson news released earlier this morning here. I'm trying to do a hot take for you just on the fantasy football relevance. Now, I don't really care, about the case, it's a whole thing in itself. So let's not get into that. How is this truly going to affect us in fantasy football? So Deshaun Watson, in most leagues currently, before this week and this recent news, hasn't really been drafted much. Some people in best ball were, hoping for this result. So some people might have snagged it and figured in your draft, and snagged him in a late round. Good for you. But nonetheless, he is going to be out for 6 games as the current ruling. The NFL committee does have some say if, some penalties are going to be charged or if there are more games that he may be suspended. Now, personally, I don't think the NFL cares about suspending more games. I think they're going to get a bunch of fees from, both teams involved, maybe the Browns and Texans as well. And maybe they'll take some of his contract as well. And Deshaun Watson's new big guarantee contract, maybe they take some of that and put it towards some charity or something like that as well. But for fantasy, I wouldn't pick Deshaun as your go-to guy. Obviously, again, he's going to be out for the first 6 games at minimum here. But at the same time, the Browns knew something was going to happen, right? They guaranteed him all this money. They knew he was going to play some games, and they knew they would have him for a couple years as well. So, let's just talk about redraft leagues here. If your plan is to get Deshaun Watson, he may finish as a top 5 quarterback for the second half of the season. But what are you going to do for those first 6 games? If you're losing all 6 of those because you're waiting and saving this bench spot for, hopefully, again, a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson, you can take that chance and maybe roll with Kirk Cousins or, someone like that as well. What round should you target Deshaun Watson in? I will say don't do it unless it's a double-digit round. I mean, there's a lot of, intriguing options here and some good reasons as to why you might want to, pick them up for your starting lineups. But again, I like that quarterback to plug and play, take one in your draft and leave them in there except for the bye week, unless for an injury or something like that, of course. So not Deshaun isn't really in my personal plan unless, again, he drops after the 10th round or something like that where I could sneak up and grab him, save him on my bench and, use him later. Or even, he's going to be worth some trade value as well in those later weeks or the mid-season as well here. But as far as his offense goes, again, I wouldn't, bring anyone up a super ADP or nothing. We'll talk about Amari Cooper here in a little bit. But again, we got those 6 kind of weeks with Jacoby Brissett that, we might not see production from those guys, or we might see a lot. They may be struggling and may have to, push the ball down the field, do a lot of deep ball passes with Brissett. I just kind of see him waiting and kind of playing the slow game, getting some victories with the field goal or something towards the end, just sneaking by with a couple of victories is probably their plan for the first half of the season here. But nonetheless, I was going to say Amari Cooper did pull this up as going around that 60th draft pick as well. So end of the 5th, beginning of the 6th there, going along the lines of Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy, Mooney as well, Darnell Mooney. So, there's a lot of upside in these players as well. Brandon Cooks, clear wide receiver 1 for that offense. Cortland Sutton and Jeudy, a lot of upside there with Russell coming to town this season. Amari Cooper certainly now has that conversation, there for him at that ADP as well. But again, those first 6 games, he may struggle. So, I don't mind taking Cooper over Brandon Cooks now with this recent news. If you're in a, win this season, let's just wait until the end of the end of the season to kind of get those true big wins and keep them for the playoffs. I don't mind that snag there. If you look at the depth chart as well, there's truly, no one really there making a big difference here. We got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who isn't going until way later rounds as well. I think he's a great value pick for this situation. But again, you're going to have to sit on him for at least 6 weeks probably until he does some great production for your fantasy team. So, I don't think he'll be drafted in a lot of leagues. Maybe towards the end again, like I said, in redrafted leagues, someone might be on the same boat as me and sneak up and grab him. I'm certainly looking to grab him in later rounds. Again, save him on the bench, see what happens. But we got no one else after that for the wide receiver core. So definitely some great options there in Cooper and Donovan's People-Jones. Looking now towards the running back side for Cleveland, it does look like Kareem Hunt is being drafted around 70, on that ADP. We'll start with the secondary back. It is kind of a split bit backfield, as we know, probably a 60 for Chubb, 40 for Kareem Hunt here as well. Hunt will have a lot of value in PPR leagues, especially, again, second half of the season here. But again, I wouldn't move him or Chubb up or down or anything like that. If anything, it makes Nick Chubb look like a better value at that kind of, beginning of the second round, end of the second round, maybe even if he drops to the third. Nick Chubb is going to be in a great place to pick him at that ADP spot. Deshaun Watson will have a little bit of some more running plays, maybe outlined for him. There is a concern of maybe taking some of that away from those two running backs, but I think that'll impact him in a positive way, if anything. Doing a fake run to the left with Watson, and he does a screen pass to the right with Chubb or Hunt, and they go down for, at least a 10, if not 20, 30 yards on that play. I think there's a lot of upside there as well. The final kind of player I wanted to speak to for the Browns here is another very late pick in David Njoku. Now, they gave him a ton of money this year. He's a great prospect and has a ton of room for improvement. They've always been running, the Browns have always been running kind of like two wide receiver sets, two tight end sets. But, with that value and that new contract kind of going Njoku's way, I think the plan is to use him a ton, and hopefully, he may be a sleeper tight end as well. Not a bad option to grab in the later rounds of your draft as well. That's it for this one. Just want to do a real focus on Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns, and what to expect or think for fantasy purposes here. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below, and let me know what your thoughts are about the suspension and if he will have some more games. Thanks again for tuning in. As always, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that. We're going to be doing a ton of fantasy football stuff this season and, this month as well, as we prepare for our fantasy football drafts. That's it for this one. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.